I guess I don't need this on.
Sound. Let me turn the camera around. Oh, that's not it. Okay, nobody will be on Zoom
Because you don't have it opened.
because nobody has the link. But
Yeah.
we are recording it, so.
Okay. So try not to pick my nose. Say anything really untowardly towards agents.
Talk smack about people.
Don't say anything personal about anybody that works here. Don't say anything. Don't use names. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, and then it's. Who's here?
We came to wish you good class.
Thank you. How are you?
Good, how are
Too
you?
long.
I know.
What's going on? You must smell me because I've been in your space before. I wanted to use your doggy bed for a pillow one day when I was
Aw.
really tired.
He likes you.
So things are good?
Yeah. Yeah, good for you too.
Yeah. I think this is gonna be a crazy next, like I really want to go away for a week to like the islands or do something,
Oh.
just, go hike somewhere crazy, but
Great. No time.
no, just people all of a sudden, like just when you think it's like maybe just gonna calm down a little bit, I'll take
Yeah.
a breather, maybe go away. Just somebody calls or something happens.
But that's okay, because we all
Yeah.
know what it's like when that doesn't happen.
Yep.
Yep, that's Parker.
That is one cloud.
Take all of the attention.
He's a
As I can
cumulus.
get.
He's a big old puffy cumulus.
Oh, that's too funny.
So Jill, you're Charles in charge.
I am Charles.
I love it. I was thinking about you, if I was gonna see you today, and there's something I wanted to ask you, so now it's gonna have to be after.
Okay, just
Because I'm
remember.
pretty sure I won't remember, because I'm kind of in.
Thinking
I'm
about
gonna
this
teach
now.
what I'm gonna say, because this is the first time I've ever facilitated a class, so.
Oh, I know,
Like-
but you are really good at this stuff.
Well, I'm good with cheese.
You should brush cheese.
And
No one even
this.
knows.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Yes, you will. You will be very.
I held an open house for you.
What?
I held an open house for you.
Yeah, several.
Yeah, so I have.
Yeah, for sure.
The one in Victorian Village was just, I went back and looked at pictures of that. It actually helped inspire us with our redo on our place.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The kitchen,
Yeah,
I forget the address, but it was awesome.
it was
place.
on Highland.
It was on Highland.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I met some great clients there too.
I know.
Yeah.
So that turned out great.
It did.
Good.
Yep,
See, yeah,
always available.
I know, I need more listings.
Yeah, we all do. I heard you held one open. Whose did you hold? Was it one of your own listings or?
No, Muhammad Arfin.
Oh, yeah, yep. I've
Yeah,
actually held for him too.
yeah, I've held pretty much all of my open houses that I've hosted were from him.
Mohammed?
Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome. That's cool.
that's really good. I'm Kelly, by the way.
Kelly, I'm Max.
Hey, Max, good to meet you.
Pleasure to meet
And
you.
you're
Kelly.
new here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, wonderful, welcome.
Press that, make sure it works.
Okay,
Click the right button.
this side?
And then you go back. You can click this one.
Okay, and what's the center do?
And the-
Okay.
Hi, how are
Hello.
you? Just fine, how are you doing? There are, if you can sign in back there, there are 2 packets for you.
I think one of my, trying to think, I held one open for Mohammed about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. Oh, Parker's scooting on the carpet. And it was, he was newer here. I think he'd only been here. I don't know, I think he came in 17, maybe, no, 18. I think he's 2018. And I had to give him feedback because he hadn't really had or hosted or had that many listings prior, and the house was just a disaster.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where he asked me a day before. I didn't have enough time to preview, and I'll talk about that a bit as well about how important it is to get in there early, but and I don't think he realized like how that really worked. And I think the market at that point had already started to accelerate so that you don't really even worry about things not looking right for the open house because somebody's going to buy it. Somebody's going to put an offer in. And that's unfortunate because, you know, if you don't know that your responsibility to that agent or to that seller is as much money as they can get.
Yeah.
So if you're not giving them good direction, you know, and I walked in, there were like the sliding glass door in the downstairs, there was a foundational issue.
Yeah.
And you couldn't even hardly open it. You could see where the cement was already slanting outside. And then the floor inside was actually a little bit sloped as well. And I always tell people, if you want to know one of the quick things, and this is something I learned from my father, because he was a broker owner back in the 70s. And he would always have a marble or some kind of a hard ball that would move
Yeah.
if you placed it somewhere, and you'd go into the basements, and if there's any kind of, he thought there's any kind of foundational issue, he would just drop it and see where it would go.
Yeah.
And in the area that he thought, because then he could say to that person, hey, it's not really level, you need to figure this out, or at least you need to put it in your RPD.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I gave him the feedback. I don't think he really took it very well because he was new and didn't really know that a newer agent was going to go in and give him feedback on a listing that was supposed to be a good open house.
Yeah.
I think 2 or 3 people came through, and it was in a very odd place too. It was like kind of wedged between Grove City and Obetz, and it was in an older neighborhood on a cul-de-sac. And the house from the outside had a gorgeous setting, but the second you walked in, you walked back into the 70s, and
Yeah.
it didn't have a lot of curb appeal.
Yeah.
That I know it went into contract within a week, but I think it fell out because inspections didn't go well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Greg.
Kelly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wow,
I'm excited to have you in here.
absolutely.
Well, I'm a new person because I couldn't make it last week, Bonnie Roberts.
Hey, Bonnie. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And I wouldn't have been here because I am truly just open house facilitator today.
Okay.
So, although I've been through Ignite twice, they really changed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So what I learned early on, and I look at this is, I think, more abridged, and it also has a lot more links to other things you can expound upon. You know,
Okay.
in your, how many months have you been licensed?
Since October, so that's what, 30 months?
Yep. Okay. And prior to that, did you have any real estate experience at all? Or
No, just construction.
okay, so you did really, because construction is a huge part of our business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wish it was a much bigger part of our business because we need the homes. Greg, I don't even know how long you've been licensed.
Long time. 2009, I got my license, but I started selling in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you get it because you had a transaction you wanted to do with family?
My
Or
dad was a broker, so he
okay,
said,
like mine.
you're doing this during college. So that was just in the summer, in between semesters, so.
That's
go do
fantastic.
this. Here I am,
That's a good way to get indoctrinated into it and know whether you really want to like it or not.
right?
Other than, you know, forcing yourself or thinking like, my God, you know, this is my life career, and now what do I have to do to make it happen? Because
Yeah,
it's never well, I shouldn't say it's never, it's very infrequent that it's like a regular paycheck. That's what I found.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's always rainy days kind
My
of
wife
thing.
loves budgeting,
Yes.
it's impossible.
All right, so name again?
Max.
I should make name tags. We should do name tags.
Oh, yeah.
Just remember Kelly G's.
I know. Max, Greg,
Ron, you can get it.
not Carol.
No, but let's see, 6 letters. Carol's
Oh, that's
Just that. Fine,
Bonnie.
yes.
Okay, that I'll
Old
remember.
fashioned, my Bonnie lies over the ocean.
You know how I remember it? Because I'm a huge plant person.
Yeah.
Bonnie plants.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
the Bonnie
Oh, yeah,
brand.
I have trucks everywhere.
You do? Yeah, like I do. My last name is Snyder.
Oh, yeah.
So there's Schneider trucks all over
Yeah.
the place. Although mine's spelled a little differently now. So, hi there, I'm Kelly.
Hi, I'm Stacy Dixon.
Hey Stacy.
Nice to meet
have
you.
Nice to meet you. Newer agent or
Very new,
Like-
yes,
October, November?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you Hondros graduates?
I
or-
am.
Okay. I went to Hondros.
Oh, you
so,
did? Okay.
mhm. I mean, I attended classes at Hondros.
Yes.
Really. Yeah, there was no dorm involved.
No dorm involved.
No
It was
fraternity,
online,
no
yes.
fraternity. No. Yep, okay, this is gonna be hard for me, so I have to write it down.
That's my name.
Rate, Raquel,
Yes.
Rachel's gonna be critiquing me today because I'm nervous about facilitating. I've never really done it, but I know how to do open houses, like, no, there's no one tomorrow. So, but presentations are not my forte.
That's all right.
My wine and cheese presentation was great because I think we were drinking.
Well, that would've been good today.
Did
I
you-
mean, I can go get
Did
some
you guys,
wine.
were you at when did you join our brokerage?
October.
Okay, and how about you?
I think it was around October. Or November. Yes.
Okay,
I'm brand new. I've only had my license for about a month,
oh, fantastic.
so joined shortly thereafter.
Okay, so you got it just like right before Christmas, you got it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I was trying to get it done before Christmas, so I didn't
Well,
have to
and
deal
it's-
with it.
You guys are always in the fortunate place where you wanna have a number that's a little bit older, because the whole thing in real estate is you get this feeling that if you don't have a license that's 2015 or earlier or something, people are gonna look at it if they do, or other agents are gonna kind of discount you because, oh, you have no experience. If you haven't sat with Mary Sunderman yet, or met Mary Sunderman, which I think you all know Mary, should know Mary. No?
She does like mid-level coaching there.
Okay.
Productivity.
The first
Trained
thing
by
she-
Josh right now.
The first thing they taught me here was, and I had been at Remax for a year before, was that your license number is nothing, but your brokerage is everything. So your experience, you just take it from all of us. So when you say, you really don't always want to say you're a newer agent. Some people give you a waiver because of that. But I'd say, just say that our brokerage has been around since the 90s. I work with agents that are, high producers. And it really does kind of place you in a different part of the industry, because a lot of people don't use that. They don't use their brokerage. That's kind of their experience. And you have us.
Yes.
What's that?
The brokerage has only been years.
Oh, two, yeah, but the people that started the brokerage, if you know the history,
Yeah.
they've been in real estate since the 80s and 90s, some of them. So. Wonder if Barbara's showing up,
No.
because we're supposed to have 8 people.
Not everybody shows up.
What did I get up for? I'm kidding. You guys are good. All right, I'll wait about a couple more minutes. What I'd like to do is, I'll start with you and just say a little bit about, I know they don't know maybe, but just where you came from business wise and what you really want to get out of this class. You really did.
Okay, so I'm Max Mills. Pleasure to meet you guys. I saw some of you at the last Ignite. I was in construction basically most of my adult life, which isn't that long, but got into real estate because I wanted my income to not be based on the hours that I work, but the work that I do instead. And what I want out of this class is how to better prepare and set up for open houses and create a better experience for the people attending the open house.
Perfect. Okay. That's great.
Hi, I'm Stacy Dixon. I grew up in Columbus and have 3 kids and have not really raised my kids. 2 are in college, one's a high school, freshman in high school, and didn't work during the time frame. We have a couple campus properties, commercial properties, bought a few homes here and there, and decided I probably want to get my license. I was in sales before I have kids. So just excited to be in it. My mom actually is here at Keller Williams, Mary Allen,
Okay.
and I've known Sue forever, and I'm on Mary's team, Mary Centerman's team.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, so just excited to learn everything I can.
That's fantastic. So was it sales related to like a retail side or more of a,
A few different sales.
Okay.
My first was with MCI.
okay?
Telecommunications.
Oh,
A
yeah,
lot of
I remember them.
Yeah,
Yep.
a lot of cold calling. My last job before I stayed home with the kids was with a magazine called Corporate Magazine. So I dealt with a lot of the investors and a lot of the commercial, or not commercial, but the residential rental properties.
Okay.
Like the Triangles and the Plaza, all the management companies for rentals. So I did all their advertising.
Oh, fantastic. So you should be good on the marketing side of your
A little bit,
business.
a little bit. My husband's in marketing too, so it kind of helps a little bit. Just, you know, but yeah,
And Mary, obviously being on that team is just,
she's great.
Yeah.
Really good.
I mean, I would call her my single most impactful mentor here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
I
hands
hear
down.
that consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. She's just pure heart. Absolutely. Bill Benninghoff. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Yay, two familiar faces.
Yay.
I like the new faces too, because that's what open houses are really about, is getting to know people at places that you may have never seen before. But being a Columbus native, I bet you host one and somebody will come in, they'll be like, I didn't know you're
I
selling
know,
real
isn't that
estate.
fun?
And then you're like, darn it, you know,
Yeah.
they should have known.
Yeah.
So Bill, how long have you been here at Keller Williams?
I've been here the second time around for over 3 years.
Okay,
The first time I was here for 5. I'm a new agent, obviously, I've only been in the business 32 years. And I'm just here to hear about open houses.
yeah. And you've held many, I think, or
I've held
no?
many, I haven't held many in the last couple of years, just because most of my listings are people that want them. You know, it is a great way to get buyers. I've done that a lot over the years.
Right.
It's just been tough to get the sellers to get on board just because of COVID.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about some of those challenges.
Yeah, with all the multiple offers and stuff, they really want to qualify people coming in, not just the neighbors, so. I mean, that's one of the things you really want with an open house, you want to meet the neighbors.
Yeah, you do.
So do as many as you can.
Yep. Fantastic. Glad you're here.
Rick Cunningham, been licensed selling for 10 years. What else about me? Really, I'm here. I was on a team for a long time. Went out on my own in July. I'm just kind of taking all the training I can and going back to basics. So here I am.
Great. And Bonnie?
Let me take this off. My name is Bonnie Bozart Roberts. I spent 30+ years in commercial real estate, mostly as an investor, as a buyer, as a seller, but did it on behalf of the owner. So I didn't need a license to do any of that. I quote that I sold and bought probably about $3 billion worth of real estate, but very different from single family. This is a whole different world. And I've got a lot of education that I need to get to be able to get up to speed on handling single family. I'm trying to learn everything I can about it so that I can get into the business.
And what specifically brought you to Keller Williams, if I can ask?
Sue,
Okay, Sue Luscombe,
pardon me,
Sue
no,
Lus-
Sue Van Workum.
Sue Van Workum.
Yeah. And then she left me.
Yes.
You know what? You're in good company though, because we all love Sue. I was sad too, but you know, we're all here and there's a reason why people come back to Keller Williams as well.
Yeah,
So
and
not to
that's-
say that's gonna happen, but
You know, I've met with her and, you know, she's still said, this is a good place to be.
this is a really good
And-
place to be.
I wanted to be here.
Yep. So I'm Kelly Snyder. I actually have only lived in Columbus 7 years now. I grew up in Northeast Ohio and moved away after a divorce and lived pretty much all over the country and world, and never thought of real estate as a career because I saw what my dad went through as a kid. He was a broker owner in Salem, Ohio, which is a tiny little town by Youngstown. And I was a natural salesperson. I did not know it until I got into, I worked for Whole Foods, I worked for Neiman Marcus, I worked for Mercedes-Benz. I always did luxury items, or at least the higher end of things. And I came back to Columbus kind of not knowing after Whole Foods was going to be swallowed by Amazon that I didn't want to be working for Jeff Bezos. Nothing against him, I just don't like the model, how they've taken small businesses away from so many towns and stuff. So I decided, I went to a party in Old Town East, and I met somebody and they were a realtor, and I started talking to him and he said, why don't you come to Remax and I'll show you the ropes. So I was kind of an apprentice for the first 9 months with a 30-year veteran and learned a lot. And in fact, he showed me the first open house experience, and he did it in a very high level for Remax. And not to, say anything bad about them, but Remax did not offer the training that I felt I needed after Hondros, because Hondros just prepares you for an exam. It doesn't prepare you for the real world. And like 90% of what I learned there, I still haven't used. There's no need for it, but good experience. Love Columbus. I've lived, like I said, I've lived so many places, but I call Columbus home, and I can see myself being here a long time. So, besides that, I'm happy to be here for the open house class. Lori asked me to do it just because it was kind of the first thing that I glommed onto, not really having a sphere here. I got licensed the very end of 2016. And I came to this brokerage in February 2018. So this is going on my 4th year. So 5th year license. Okay. Oh, one more person came in. I know you.
Good morning.
Hi.
Yes, I'm Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Nice to
Welcome.
see you.
What brings you to the open house class?
I just would like a refresher and kind of ready to vamp it up a little bit.
Okay. Any like specific things? Because you've done open houses, I take it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just always curious to learn from others and what they do and how they do it and what's worked for them. That's really, I think, my main thing. I like to hear it all, I guess.
Okay. And Nicole, all this time, I don't know how long you've been in this business and where you came from.
That's okay. I've been in it just over a year and some change. I am on Ryan's team and I was a teacher prior.
Okay. Elementary or
Middle school.
middle school
Middle
teacher?
school English.
Ooh.
I guess that makes
Wow.
me crazy.
Yeah. My stepmom was a senior high English teacher, and that was quite the experience to
Oh,
grow up
yes.
in a household with
Yes.
So yeah, I disappointed her with my English because it's not the best. Thank God she wasn't my mom. Okay, so I think the best way to start this is our video is coming up in a second. So I want to break the ice a little because I'm nervous. This is my first time facilitating, so I'm letting you know. This you've seen throughout the whole Ignite. Have you all gone to an Ignite class prior to this or no? How many
I have.
you have? And you've done Ignite before, Greg, or no?
I've never done Ignite, but I was here last week.
Okay. So what I'm going to recommend is I've done it twice and I've been here 4 years. So if that's any indication of the value I got out of it, I did all of them, both times. They have changed again. They've kind of revamped it, and they've made it more streamlined, and they've also made it more media and also link accessible. So you can actually dive so much deeper than I was able to when I first attended the Ignite class. And our straggler here, I know very well because we actually did an open house together, which is awesome. Would you mind introducing yourself? and
Yes,
telling us a little
hi,
bit?
pardon me for being late. My name is Francie Wooster. I am a brand new agent. And that's me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep, and she's a mama and
Yes.
mama to be.
I'm a mom and a mom to be. I'm about to adopt 2 little boys.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm
Yeah.
really excited.
All right, so I think this is in your this is in the booklets that you do get in this class, but it basically is a good template to how you grow your business, how do you run your business. I'm not going to go over each, but the lead generation for buyers and sellers is really the part that we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about how, if you're okay with doing open houses, it can become your one single major source of clients. If you have lived in Columbus or the area for quite a while, you'll actually, you'll use your sphere, and your sphere will give you referrals because if they like you and know you, they'll refer to you. But open houses give you the opportunity to sort of make a first impression on someone you've never seen before. And that's why the preparation aspect of it and really procuring the open house is a big deal. getting one, and it's easy. I will tell you this, at this brokerage with 200+ agents, it's just a matter of asking. I do open houses. Yeah, exactly. Or, actually harassing her is the best way, because she's kind of the front line here, and I'll text her and say, hey, if anything pops up today, I'm not on the Keller Williams Facebook page, but let me know. She'll take a snap and she'll send it off to a few of the agents that have asked her to do that. And it's really about being first in line. You've got to present yourself, and you also want to know the agent, because if you don't know the agent and you present yourself, they're going to be like, well, how do I know they're going to represent me well? And you want to make sure you're doing that. So anyway, we're going to go into that stream of it. I'm going to play a little video. Have you seen this before?
No, but I'm excited.
I'm not quite sure how to start it though. Rachel walked out right then. Nope. I just did push the wrong button. Rachel, come back.
Can you act it out for us?
No, you gotta see it. It's like 3 minutes, and it's just to really like break the ice and just laugh a little, because laughter can keep you awake. That could be boring, I think.
I'm Bill Benninghoff.
Nice to meet you. I'm Stacy Dixon. Hi, Stacy. Nice to meet you.
I'm new.
Yeah, use the mouse apparently. Need up here.
And I'm Bonnie Roberts, and a little different than what you're doing right now, but I am an adopter.
And it went off the
Oh,
full
So
screen.
I think it's really cool.
Sorry.
you know, we're about to adopt our second and third.
Good for you.
Okay, here we go.
Hopefully.
That's the volume.
2 kids to them.
That's true. Shouldn't be bad.
This Uber is gonna cost me more than the commission. Can't have enough keys, I can't have too little keys. Come on. I asked them to leave the top lock open.
Don't be this late.
Look at the dishes they leave in the sink. How about we price it to waste my time? I'll waste about 8 to 10 Sundays. Did you have any trouble finding it? It's going to be a bidding war because I'm already getting offers at ask. Are you working with an agent? If you decide you don't want to work with an agent, we can talk about that because it's your decision. I assume that you've seen other properties in the neighborhood and you understand how competitively priced this is. How about upstairs? You want to see upstairs? Let's go. The eastern window also is a partial view. Partial view of a wall and partial view of construction. You could definitely fit a queen in this room, a very flexible queen. You may be able to have the air rights for this place. There was a major celebrity who's been living here. Well, not this time, but the owners before. One buyer is all it takes. But you have to be a buyer. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I know. Let's do a lot of mailings to other people in the neighborhood. They already have a house. And it's a very flexible property. You got to look at the floor plan. You're thinking now maybe it's expensive? How about talk to yourself in 5 years? I have to make show sheets. I definitely need a wide angle lens specialist. They have been repointing these bricks nonstop. You're a cash buyer? Hold on a second. I can't go up there. It's absolutely usable space. Maybe someone plays an instrument. This could be a rehearsal room. It's a flexible space. It's a flexible floor plan. I'm already a half hour late for the other appointment. I'm betting myself $500 that they're gonna come down and say I'm not in a rush. And then meanwhile, the city's turning it into an apocalyptic sinkhole. How about I wait for that? We have a great lawyer. So just to recap, you're gonna make a highball offer. You do not want to insult these sellers. You're going to want to write them a love letter. I'm going to need reference letters from your friends, from professionals, from dental records, your psychiatrist record, including a credit check in my office by 9 a.m. and 12 copies of everything. Oh my gosh, I think the owners are coming home, so it's not officially my listing yet. They haven't quite signed the exclusive, so let's just go out the back.
So that's just a little humor. I like to search for this stuff because Nope. I'll do it again.
This Uber is gonna cost me.
it. I think that did stop it, whatever I did. Okay, so I just like a little humor. I kind of search for these things when I'm watching other YouTube videos to get ideas for things that I want to do. There's some amazing media out there for kind of unconventional realtors all around the country that do really different things. I think in the booklet, a lot of times in these, you read, you prepare for the second part of the Ignite by reading at the end of your previous session, and it tells you kind of some activities or things you can do to prepare for the next one. And one of them was, they mentioned a broker in Las Cruces, New Mexico, came up with a really innovative way to do open houses. Did anybody read about that or see that in there? I'll talk about it a little more in detail, but people really innovate.
Okay with me stepping out?
You're good. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be okay. I already have 3 people that know me fairly well and can tell me you are a jittery mess. You need to calm down. You need to not have a cup of coffee and
You'll be all right. You got
don't talk so much. So anyway, I want this to be really valuable for you. It's going to be a lot about what my experience is and not so much about what this booklet has in it, because there's some activities and role playing in there that I just can't imagine doing. It's like door knocking. You know, how do you go to a neighbor's house and door knock? So they say 10 to the left, 10 to the right, and 10 in front. That's the way they want you to do it. But I don't want to role play in that because I really feel that the door knocking part is really up to you. And in this day and age, as Bill had mentioned, we're kind of in a weird place than we were pre-COVID. We are in a place where, you know, people are not as wanting to have you in their face. Knocking on the door can sometimes also be a little bit jarring to people because they're not used to it. There's a lot of no trespassing, no soliciting signs out. And then we'll get it about the call list as well. When you're doing your prospecting, you have to be really careful not to call on the do not call. And that's in there as well. And I'll talk a little bit about safety because safety is a really important part of open houses. But really the benefits are if you want to fill your pipeline with buyers and sellers, because Bill mentioned you get a lot of buyers out of it. You also, if you wow people with an open house, you're going to get sellers as well, because there's going to be nosy neighbors that are coming to see what you did and how you did it. And they're kind of interviewing you to see if you're somebody they want to list with. And I think that we underestimate the power of getting those neighbors in there. And if you're good with social media, that's your best bet, because you can actually target that neighborhood. And you can actually, if you prepare in advance, you can actually get the neighborhood Facebook page if you are clever. If you ask your seller, hey, do you guys have like a neighborhood group, or do you have like a group of people that sort of congregate for one activity? Let's go blanket them because they'll know. They say about invite them in a half hour prior or an hour prior to the actual open house to have like a preview, because that's the best way for you to spend quality time with the neighbors and really get to know them and let them know what you can do. So it's a lot. I will tell you this, for preparation, it's a lot of work. And I would say that the biggest thing is we get open houses sometimes 2 or 3 days prior to the actual event. And that's not really enough time to prep for it. You need a good 7 to 10 days to do it we used to call it 7th level, I believe. Bill, can you help me with that? What do we call it? When we did the open house and you had to do like balloons and invitations, and I think it was called 7th level open house, where you literally knocked it out of the park. We haven't done that because helium, number one, was really hard to find. We were doing balloons, but you can't find helium or can't get it as well now. So I'd say the first benefit that I found, they say that if you spend less than $50 on your open house, you're good. You can spend less than $20 on your open house, and I'm including your gas. You don't need to bring snacks. You really have to get the seller's permission for that. You can print flyers, but nowadays QR codes are amazing because you can send people a QR code to directly link it onto their phone, or you also can I always say that I will send you the link for it if you want to go paperless by asking them for their information. Because that is the number one thing you've got to master in open houses, is how to get their vitals. And I shared with you in the packet of papers, if you guys didn't already glance through there, I gave you the opportunity, you can photocopy these, do whatever you want with them, but there's one that basically says for security purposes, please sign in. And if you actually catch somebody that didn't, it's more of a mandate than it is an option, and you let them know. And if you do it in a way where you're letting them know that it's the safety and security of this home. And during COVID, it actually was easy because we could always say, we may need to trace if something were to happen here. And you could still use that because obviously we're in the midst of the same thing. But it's, I don't know if you guys see it in there. I also gave you one of my sheets that I like to use. That's the one that you put on the door, the front door. And then I'm also gonna give you, anybody who doesn't already have my contact information, I have a few other PDFs that could be really helpful when you're there. One is actually preparing for the open house, obviously, is a placard that you put right by the sign-in. And it basically just says this. And it just sits right there because it's really red, it's really noticeable, and people will sign in. I think you've seen this before, right?
I had a question about,
Yeah.
like an investment in open houses. Would you recommend investing in like some banners that say open house that you put on the street or put in front of the house just to have in your toolkit, or is that not something that you think is necessary?
So I would say that when you're investing any money into what you're going to do for an open house, be very cognizant that if you're going to buy it, you better use it. And if you want to use a banner, I would say use the banner in an area where there's a high congestion area. For example, I did an open house for Jill a year and a half ago, and she uses these pole flags, and they like, you know, really show up in the wind. And if you're looking down those streets that are pretty congested down there, you're not going to really see it unless it's sticking out. So I'd say 50% of your attendees come on impulse. If you put your directional signs out there, those are huge wins for you because they're not expecting to go look at a house. They're already disarmed. People that are actually shopping, you know, they're already kind of like, hey, don't get in my business. I just want to see this house. But the impulse people are generally a lot more like happy-go-lucky, and you can get the information. I'd say impulse, I mean, signing is going to be huge. A minimum of 3 signs directional is what I would say. Major intersections are where you're going to want to do it. And any cross street that feeds into that neighborhood, you're going to want to do it. And I've done up to 15 signs. I was on the Kemp team as well. I don't know if you knew that.
I did.
Yeah, so when I was on the Kemp team, we had a standard, and it was generally 7 minimum, 6 or 7 minimum. And, you know, too many signs, there's never too many signs. I'd say the problem I had was I would come up to like an intersection that was really busy and you didn't have anywhere to pull off to put the sign, but I'd walk a block to, you know, to place a sign. It's huge. It's hugely important that you have great signage. And you want the signs up probably 24 to 48 hours in advance, because if they don't have the day on it, then it kind of does confuse people because they're looking for the open house on a Thursday or a Friday or a Saturday, and it's not happening until Sunday 2 to 4. But that's okay because you've already led people there, and they've also seen your name and a phone number, and they may actually call you ahead of time. So it's another chance right there for getting qualified leads or getting people ahead of time. You know?
So where do you recommend like getting some of these materials, like the directional signs?
So I use one source, and I can share it with all of you guys. It's a husband and wife team. They live like over by Strawberry Farms. I'm not remembering their names right off. Bill, have you used them?
Yeah.
They're wonderful.
Something signs and service.
Yeah, I'll make sure you guys get it if you don't have it, but that's where I get all mine from, and they're super reliable and fast. And actually they have like a COVID pickup where you just go and pull it out of their SUV that's parked in the cul-de-sac or off their driveway, and it has your name and information and a little invoice because you've already prepaid. But you order it online, they're super easy to deal with. And I always, when I first started, Chem team provided tons of signage, and you're on a team or not on a team?
I'm not.
You're an individual. You will have plenty of signs to use. You will need to get them or borrow them. I would say borrow them, get to know people that have a lot of signs and borrow them. You can throw out a message on the Keller Williams Facebook page and you'll get tons of comments. Everybody here, that's the one thing I love about here. At Remax, everybody was in their cubicle and in competition. It was like quick draw, you know? Here, everyone is like, come in. What can I give you? What can I provide you? What can I support? How can I support you to be successful? Because the more successful all we are as agents here, the more successful the brokerage is, more notoriety. I mean, people, when they know that we're from Capital Partners, a lot of the other KW places are kind of like, oh, you're a Cap Partners. Lucky you. Also, these are really handy if your client wants you to use shoe coverings. They're just on signs. You can also get these through calendars and more. But I always put these on the door just in case, because I don't want to have to clean up and I don't want my seller to have to clean up after. This is a lot of like
One
jumping
advice you
around.
gave
I'm so
me
sorry.
along those lines was to get some cute conversational socks.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have to take off your shoes.
Yeah, and that's a part with this, I was gonna talk about this a little later, but I'll just jump into it now. You know, your personality is what's gonna sell them on you. And you can be as unique as you want, I say. You may turn people off, who knows? But at that point, really, you're trying to tell them you're an expert and that you're there to assist them. I think, I don't remember the percentage, I know it's lower now, but it's not likely that you're going to have the buyer at the open house. But it can happen, and it's happened more often now because people don't get enough time to see the place. And sometimes we as listing agents will put an open house as the first view. And that's when it's pretty much guaranteed you're going to have the buyer there. A lot of sellers don't want to be bothered by people making appointments and they have to leave, or even if they're not in the house, they don't want people tramping through the house for days on end. You know, it's a matter of cleanup and all of that as well, maintenance of the house. So anyway, on to ROI and exposure. Huge return on investment, obviously, and a huge exposure for you because your name's out there. And you also, if you acquire this open house from your own listing, promote the heck out of yourself with it. And you do it on Instagram and Facebook. You do it on any social media platform you can. And if you don't know how to do it, go see Rachel because it's a simple process. Command makes it so easy. You can actually create a landing page on Command, and you can actually use that landing page as your sign-in sheet at the open house. I prefer not to use a tablet because we are still in the midst of the pandemic, but there are some amazing, if you set this up at the front table and you have it set up for sign-ins, it's wonderful if you don't have like 1 million people coming in at once. Otherwise, I say have paper sign-in sheets as well. It might get confusing to people, but some people like to do the technology side of it. And they can scan, there's another way to do it where they actually scan a code and their information is downloaded immediately. So it'll be name, phone number, email address, and you can get that set up for an open house. I haven't gone that technical. I'm much more old school. Like I want the paper filled out and I ask questions usually. I'll go back and look at it if it's not a busy open house, and I'll say, hey, your email address here, I'm not quite sure I got that letter correct. And sometimes it's a good thing to do it because it's harder for a person to lie to you by speaking to your face than it is to write it down on here. And your main aim is to get clean data. You want clean data because what's the sense in doing any of all this if you don't have good contact information? And be disarming when they walk in. Don't be, your body language is going to say a ton to these people, and they're going to know immediately if you're like one step from homelessness, you're going to be desperate. You're going to look desperate. I think the best way is just to greet them when they come in and, let them know a couple key features or something that maybe they're inquiring about, and then let them kind of do their thing. They say never turn your back on an attendee. I don't know if that's safety really. I don't get that. Because the open houses I do, there's usually more than 1 or 2 attendees, so it'd be impossible for me to not turn my back on somebody at some point. But make sure you're greeting everybody who walks in, even if you're having a conversation, excuse yourself for a second to greet the person that walked in. Because otherwise, they're in and around and out before you know it. And they may have been like the best client you could have gotten, but they felt like you were too busy for them. You've got to always show interest with them. Qualified leads from one listing. So this really is, it may not be your listing, but you can get some really good qualified leads off of somebody else's listing that you're holding an open house to. I mean, perfect example for me would be Eric Ransom had me do an open house in Hilliard about August. An older woman and 2 of her daughters came in, and there were already like 7 people in the house, and they were walking around. It was one of these houses in the 250 range, 275, and it had a first floor master. And if any of you know the market right now, first floor master, if you don't have it, it's pretty much, everyone wants one, it seems. It's our aging population. Once you hit 55, 60, you're like thinking hips and knees and all that. So there are all these people milling around. The house is completely empty. I found out 2 days prior to, so I only had 3 signs out. But they're like, well, you do have a flyer for this? And I said, no, I actually didn't get a chance to print a flyer. It's just like I did a single page MLS sheet, and it was black and white, and that's all I had available. And at that price point, you may or may want to do that or not, just depending on the budget and what your listing or what your client really wants. So long story short, she was kind of offended, but then I kind of read off to her what was on that sheet. And she was kind of impressed at that point. And I'm like, yeah, we don't need to waste the paper, kind of jokingly, because there are paperless open houses. A lot of people are doing them. And so they walked away, did their own thing. And about 10 minutes later, they came back over and she goes, well, we just had a really awful experience with a young agent. And we made an offer and we didn't get it. And we really like your style. And it seems like you know what you're talking about. So would you be able to help my mom from here on out? And the first question I asked, of course, do you have an agreement with this other agent? And she said, no, he never made me do it. And I was like, ding, they're my client. So that's turned into 3 sales already since August.
Great.
So she had 5 children. One moved back from Milwaukee to here, and her other daughter who met her at that open house moved from Hilliard to Dublin. So that's where open houses open the doors to your business, that make it just,
incredible.
it was the best example I had. I was like, when Lori asked me to do this, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll use this example because this is a true example of how it happens. They like how I worked with them. They liked what they saw at the open house. So qualified leads come from it for sure. You just never know who they're going to be, because I thought she was pissed and just was going to walk away and not give me any information. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, it says signed out, so
Oh.
I don't know if you needed to do something quickly, so it didn't close you out or what.
It probably was, I'm guessing it was
Next week, I'm starting teaching at Miami University. And my biggest fear is that something goes wrong with my slides on the screen and I
'Cause
don't
that's
know what to do.
well, you have your paper backup, which
Well, yeah.
which I should have out just in case, but I'm going to wing it anyway.
You're
So
fine. You're doing a good job.
productive ways to meet buyers and sellers. Obviously, we know open houses is an extremely productive way. The only other way, like I said, is if you have a sphere and you're really utilizing all the methods to getting in touch with and keeping in touch with your sphere. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I've been in so many classes in this room. I've learned so much from some of these seasoned agents, Mary and Sue Leach and Joanne Labuda, Joe Jackson. I mean, there's so much wealth in this building to learn from, but Keller Williams has morphed into this. You can't lose if you follow the direction, is basically the way that this company has worked. And there's so many tools that are out there for you. And some of these numbers get really daunting, like you'll see these things like a 10 by 10 or, like the 36 touch and all that stuff. It drives me absolutely nuts because I'm not a numbers person. I achieve my goals based upon the people that I've dealt with. I talk to them often. But I don't like reach out. I'm not good at cold calling. I'm gonna admit it. Like first person here to say probably out loud in a class, I hate cold calling. I dread it. It's not the rejection part of it. It's just that I always feel like nobody expects it and they're feeling like they just got, run over by a semi and who are you and how dare you kind of feeling. The thing is that if you want to know about cold calling, Jonathan Tomko, the Millennium Group, man, they can make some cold calls. And if you ever listen to them do it, it's crazy. I mean, they get some great leads out of it, but not for me. So getting in front, personality, if you have a personality and enjoy people, open houses are your ticket. I mean, it is my meal ticket. So the prospecting model for it, I'm going to skip over because we really talked about that. We know the benefits of it. But you're basically going to procure your clients through the open house. And I think the one sheet that I gave you, the sign-in sheet for KW, it's one of my favorites because it's the very first question is, right off if you have a chance. And even if they say, yes, I'm working with an agent, it doesn't mean they are. There are sometimes, I would say, I'm not good at statistics, but I'd say 30–40% of the people will say they're working with an agent when they truly have not signed or are working with an agent. They have a friend who's in real estate, but it's not who serves them best. You would be much better than they would. If you're here at Keller Williams, you're going to be a better agent than the agent they probably have, unless it's another Keller Williams agent. But I would take this with a grain of salt, but I like to know it. And then sometimes if I see them check that and they kind of seem friendly, because if they seem standoffish, I won't ask them. Do you mind telling me who your agent is? Because if you know them or you know anything about them, and what's your relationship, you try to just break the ice and get as much information you can. And then how can I best help you? I think that these 4 lines on here give you a great gauge to know if they're a green light, a yellow light, or a red light. I really feel that this is a good sheet. So if you guys don't have a good sign-in sheet, I highly recommend this one. And I like the
I didn't want to interrupt. I wanted to say a less threatening way to ask who your agent is, just to say, I'd like to let them know you were here. Or,
that's a great one.
That way you don't feel like you're intruding on their privacy.
And then they may back up and say, well, they're not really my agent. Because if you're going to go call them, then they're going to tell you the truth at that point. Thanks, Bill. That's
I've heard
good.
you say like, oh, I might know him, like.
Yeah.
We're all super friendly.
Yeah, I do say that because I think that once you're in this business for 4 or 5 years, you know who the productive agents are in
Even
Columbus.
if you've never heard of them, when they tell you the agent, oh yeah, I know her, she's great.
I've been on the receiving end of that. Had a client go to an open house. That agent did reach out to me, just somebody that I knew pretty well, and we ended up writing an offer. And because she asked a question, knew that they had an agent, I was able to help somebody write an offer for a house I didn't even see.
And you probably didn't know your buyer was there.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So
That's
Amazing.
Kudos to your buyer loyalty.
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
So the prepare, prospect, and pursue are the procurement prospecting model procurements. So you set the open house up for success, and I'll tell you my Monday through Friday. There's actually, I think the list inside yours, because I don't have the same book that you do, but they actually give you a 7 to 10 day kind of guideline what to do. And most of it involves social media. So if you're on a team, it's going to get blasted. If you're not on a team, get with Rachel and learn how to blast it. I'm not the best at the social media aspect. I will post it the day before and the day of, and I usually will take a picture and do it to my Facebook business page. And I usually get a lot of likes, but I've only had one person say, how long are you there till? And I've been doing this for 4 years. So I'm not great at the social media side of it, but if you do social media, there's actually a way on the social media side to put in a code, which is the landing page, and it'll actually shoot you an email or a text that this person viewed your open house, and you have their information if they click on that particular page, because it'll load it from their login. Some people don't know this is happening, which I'm not sure I'm 100% happy with, but I still like to get names and phone numbers. And then promote it, host it. Hosting it is a big deal. You got to get there. I like to get there at least 20 minutes before, but they say a half hour is always the best rule of thumb. And I usually place my signs first because people will arrive early. And I've sometimes gone in and turned all the lights on and gotten the house ready a half hour before and then go place my signs. But there've been times when people walk through a dark house because I went ahead and let them in because they're already there and I'm not going to say no to them. And it also gives you an opportunity to really create some rapport with somebody who's early, because they're like, oh, am I early? And like, yeah, you're 20 minutes early. Of course you're early. You know, but it kind of breaks the ice with people too. You're like, I'm happy you're here because I'm here already. Why not? Have a look. And then I think that those parts are huge because you don't know. Seasoned agents, Bill Benninghoff, and also Greg, you know that we have a lot of agents who hate hosting open houses. They just do not like it. And a lot of them are, you know, big figure realtors. You know, they make a lot of money. I get it. I get that there's a lot of work involved and you feel like it's a few hours of my life. It really should be about 10 hours preparation. It sounds like a lot of time, but if you consider the 2 hours at the open houses or 3, or if you end up doing Saturday and Sunday, you know, you've already got 4 hours invested in physically being there. But the time to prep for it, the time to get there to drive, you know, it really is a day process to do a really effective open house. But the key thing is, like I said, gathering the information, but even beyond that, it's what you do with that information, because otherwise it's useless. You might as well just go in the yellow pages and grab some phone numbers and start calling people, because, or white pages. We don't have white pages in it. You know what I'm saying? You know, you really literally should just find somebody's name and number and email address and just call them and say, hey, I'm a realtor. Do you need help? You know, because that's what you're going to get. You've got to really captivate that attendee. And so this is that: prepare, prospect, and pursue. And the pursue part of it is the biggest part for sure. It's thank you notes. I actually start writing them when I'm at the open house, because if it's a quiet open house, I bring them with me. I go ahead and write one for the first couple attendees. I always am busy, you know, usually don't have my phone out, but sometimes somebody will ask me a question about another property and I'll look it up for them. So this is the telephone. You guys are all familiar with this, I'm guessing. We actually have access to have this updated on a regular basis, but I ignore this. I'm only going to tell you I ignore it because I don't make cold calls. If I don't have somebody's permission to call them, or it's permission from somebody I've actually sold to from by a referral or something, you're fine to call at that point because somebody has actually given you permission to call them. You're not cold calling them, but it's not a big deal. So this is this in your booklet with an explanation of each day? Do you guys know? Because I can go over it with you. It doesn't usually follow this.
Page 5 has similar.
Okay. Okay, good. Well, and I think this actually, yeah, it doesn't actually. So I'll kind of go over them basically, but the thing that I found happens here is I never have 7 to 10 days to prepare for an open house. And in this market, you're actually lucky to get an open house right now. It's not a common occurrence. You know, people will do it if they are in a real hurry to sell the house and they want it to be on the market for a few days and done, which tends to be 95% of what I'm seeing in our market. The only things lingering are overpriced or off properties, and they still don't linger long. So the big thing that this talks about is social media. It talks about posting starting on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, posting it online. The neighbor, you can actually, there's a way to get the neighbor's phone numbers. It's a little tricky, but one way is when you talk to your seller or to the agent that's giving you the open house, you can ask them if they have an association list. And sometimes the listing agent or the lister, the seller, will provide you with a neighborhood list of phone numbers, because they just, you know, they have it and you can give them a call. there's nothing that says you can't give them a call because they are the neighbor of this person. I think the do not call list probably does apply to it, but I doubt you're gonna have somebody say that, you know, your neighbors down the street said, give you a call. They're not gonna be like, they did, why, you know? So door knocking and phone calls to the neighborhood is really great, because if you want to list in that neighborhood yourself or have another listing, that's the best way to get it. So,
I'm the president of an HOA, and I would never give out phone numbers.
right.
And you can get addresses by looking, that I
Yeah.
would never give out those phone numbers.
Yeah, it's, okay, so there's an app that's available. I pay $29.95 a quarter for it. It's called Spokio. Temp team uses it. That's where I learned about it. Do you still have Spokio? Has anybody heard of Spokio here?
I have, yes, but I don't think we're still paying for it. but
Okay,
I
you
know we
should.
have now. Yeah.
You should, because it's like the creepiest sort of FBI investigator site that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like
cool.
birthdays, kids' names, where they work,
Yeah.
what they like, what they buy. Yeah, you should look yourself up on there sometime. I did. I looked myself up. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
that's
had a
okay.
question or comment.
Should you do cold calling in the neighborhood and door knocking? Cause I've just been like arriving like an hour and a half earlier than door knocking in the neighborhood, but not cold calling.
So really best practice is going to be day before or a couple days before is driving the neighborhood. Don't go to it. Don't do an open house where you literally pull up to the house and have never seen it. Some cases you have that where you only find out the day before and your schedule doesn't allow you to get there to look at the house, but you really need to know that house ahead of time, and you need to know what you're up against and things that could be potential yellow or red flags for somebody attending the open house. You want to, be able to get there in time to clean up something that's happened, leaves blown on the porch or snow on the sidewalk, whatever, be prepared. But I would say with neighbors and door knocking and phone calls, at least 24 to 48 hours prior to, because they already have a schedule set. And if I know, if I'm living in a neighborhood and somebody came to me and said, hey, there's an open house the day after tomorrow or tomorrow, my schedule may be set that I couldn't go anyway. So you only have a 2-hour window to get them there. So I'd say the earlier you do the phone calls, as soon as you find out about an open house, you should have a plan in mind, and you should really just use this to exercise it, because you'll do it at the highest level at this point.
Okay.
And it definitely, what it does do is it guarantees success, because the last thing you want to do is spend 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 hours of your time and have 2 attendees. And they're both, one's a looky-loo neighbor who's lived in the house for 3 years and has no intention of selling, but wants to know like what the neighbor did. And the other one is, somebody who has no interest in the house, really. They just thought there might be food. I don't know. You just never know. And then sometimes you'll have too many people that you can't control the open house. And if you know that you're in a hot area and you know that you have time, I would say get a buddy. Sometimes it's better to have 2 people at an open house than 1. I did that on the Kemp team with Amy Cameron, and I did one in Central Eastmore, Bexley adjacent. And it was a large home. And we knew that it was going to fly out the window, but there were so many people that came to see the house that we had to literally take turns greeting people coming in, and there were people everywhere. And that was 2.5 years ago. But that house went into contract, the next day. But I would say the preparation part of this it's priceless. You have to be kind of prepared for it. Unfortunate thing is I'd say 75 to 80% of the open houses that I host that aren't my own listing, I don't have any time for preparation. It's like you're winging it. I mean, I've learned 2-3 hours in advance when somebody couldn't go to an open house, and I said I'd do it. And I was lucky that it was prepared as much as it was, but I never got to the neighborhood. And you'll know immediately in the neighborhood if it's a friendly neighborhood or not. Because the doors won't open, you'll hear sounds behind the door. You'll know, and your success rate is very variable at that point. But I'd say calls if you can. Yep.
If you've got time to prepare and you're preparing the 7 days ahead of time that you're doing the door knocking, my suggestion is lots of neighbors hold that open house from 1 to 3 or 2 to 4. If you're spending 10 hours getting ready for the open house, do 3 hours.
Do a 3-hour.
Be there the whole 3 hours.
I agree. Yeah. And it's so funny because there's no rhyme or reason to when people arrive. You have some open houses where people are so eager because they think they're going to write an offer on it in the first hour with their agent. So they're there at 1/4 of. sometimes it'll go an hour and a half, and then the last half hour you're there, 5 people show up. So there's no rhyme or reason to it, because their schedule is set on other open houses. You don't know that this is their first or second or third. I always ask them, did you see any other houses today? Because it's a great way also to let them know that you're interested in their buying process. What is in their mindset that day. But yeah, I've done 3-hour open houses before, especially when I do Buckeye Lake. I mean, you want to have a longer open house at some of those properties.
And give yourself time afterwards too, because I had an open house one before. No one came until 4:49, and I'm turning the lights off because I'm getting ready to leave. And I had 5 people between 4 o'clock and 4:45.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and another thing, don't jam yourself that day. Don't schedule an appointment right after the open house, because chances are you're going to miss it or something's going to happen. I've done that before, where an hour after an open house, I had a showing and I was like 10 minutes late for the showing. With showings, like you have your slot and that's it, and try to reschedule through showing time.
I have a question about open houses, and I'm sorry if I'm derailing you.
No, I'm derailed already.
So I mean, I just bought, I have not sold any house or had any transactions as a professional realtor yet, but I have personally bought 2 homes, and I have never, I went to an open house for our first home and was the first person there and put a contract on it right away. With the inventory being so low, are open houses still popular? Or are people doing more private listing? They are.
Yeah, I've been doing them every weekend.
Okay,
And, I mean, last weekend on Saturday, only 1 person came, but the weekend before that, it was like packed for 2 hours. straight.
okay. So it is, I mean, I just didn't know if the houses were even able to go to an open house at this point. People are buying them so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, he's fortunate, because for me, I think I did an open house maybe 6 weeks ago. That's all I've done. I mean, I haven't done any in a while now, because of most clients they're fine without doing an open house. But there are those that want to do an open house because their agent got to them and said, it makes sense to get more people into this pool of offers. And it just depends on the house, it could be a house, like if one showed up at that house, I don't know what type of house it was, but it was either really expensive house, or it was a house that was in an area that maybe fewer people were interested in purchasing, or maybe the pricing was higher than what people projected it should be. So you really didn't have looky-loos or interest in the neighborhood or whatever. But I'd say that the amount of open houses you can just see from when they post it in our Friday newsletter. It says open houses and it says Taylor Cole and virtual open houses. That's it. I mean, there's been so few in the last 8 weeks. I don't even more than that. So I think I'd feel fortunate if I got an open house in the next few months. But so the preparation part of it, I mean, they actually have a little symbols that show, like you can put your signs out on Wednesday, get the internet involved, print up. Friday is always the day that you want to print any collateral that you're going to do for your open house, because you want to make sure you have that done prior to the day. And people have questioned me before, like, what type do you use? Well, I used to use list reports because it's so easy. And if you guys don't know about list reports, it actually is a free service. You can get an enhanced version, and you can actually take your favorite lender or your favorite title company and get them involved. And if you do, they give you a pro version because your lender and title company have signed off on you doing a list report. And list report's another one that I'm pretty sure Rachel has access to set it up for you, but it gives you a really colorful flyer. And it says how many restaurants are in the neighborhood, how many, where's the retail shopping, the distance to all of these things in the area, what are the schools, what is the elementary, the middle, and the high school there. And it actually even puts a rating on there. And I think the rating comes from one of the rate schools site. And it can be a 1-page flyer, and it does a 4-way split of pictures inside your house, inside the house that you choose. If you're the listing agent, now if you're just holding the open house for a listing agent, they will choose their collateral they'd like to use. And usually they'll print it up and give it to you. But if you want to promote it yourself and they aren't promoting it, I say spend the money on promoting it, because it makes it that much more of Plus, when people come in, that they have something to look at. There's a video from, I forget her name, but she's like Miami agent. And she does these really great YouTubes of hosting an open house. And she does this whole diatribe about paperless and how her company has gone paperless. And people go like, well, I have that. I want to. She's like, yeah, they fold it in 4 and they throw it in the backseat of their car. They put it in their pocket. She goes, you don't need the paper, and you can capture their information if you just use a QR code, or you tell them just to sign in on the sign in. And you can then send it to them. And they want to give you correct information if you're going to send them something, because they want that. So that's another thing to do, is to capture, get a phone number for a text, and then text to get their email, or get both. And if you have their email, then you can actually send them the MLS itself. And that's a great way to capture information. I say don't print out paper anymore. That's kind of my new mantra. Don't waste the money or the time. And then Saturday it has an open door, but I think we're more of a Sunday open house community, although you do see them Saturday as well. But I tend to do mine more on Sundays. This is a big deal. You know, where your open house is located, what are the traffic patterns? Like, are you going to want to hold one Saturday in the fall around campus? No. You know, what time do you want to hold it? Bill had a great comment where, you know, you're putting all this time into it, hold it longer, because we have 1 to 4 signs. We have 12 to 3 signs. You can have any sign you want made, and they're not that expensive. And I have a bunch of them. So I'm going to give you my cards if anybody needs to borrow a sign, or if you also need to get any of the collateral, like the sign-in sheet card I showed you a bit ago. This guy, I can send you the PDF for that. I mean, it's easy to create yourself. It's literally on harder, a little thicker card stock, so it'll stand up, but I use it a lot. And then time, like I said, you may want to hold one on a Thursday evening or a Friday evening. And especially if it's in an area where there's like a gallery or restaurants, because you never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to see. So Grandview, Short North, Victorian Village, Italian Village. I'd say, like, you know, the Village of Dublin, if you had a listing in that area, anywhere where there's foot traffic, try to do it at a time when people are out and about, because then you're gonna get all these you know, incidental, like people just walking will come through. Traffic patterns, I'd say that one you can't really control, but I think it might also be, you know, what is the foot traffic in that area, or is there a certain time of day that school's letting out? Do you want to capture maybe, you know, open house sign, and a mom or dad picking up their kid and they see the sign, they're like, hey, we could live closer to the school, kind of thing. So you never really know. And then I don't know about local practices, but there are mandates in some of our townships that there's certain things you can and cannot do. I'm not going to do that, because we actually talked about door knocking, but the role model, the way that this presented itself to me was that you go there to give them something, and what you're giving them is an invitation to come to their neighbor's home to help find a good neighbor for them, or ask them directly, do you have friends that have said they want to live in your neighborhood?
Yeah, do you want to live next to your best friend?
Yeah, it's such a great thing. And it may not be, at that point, you're actually adding value to the house, because you're actually telling them, you know, you have the opportunity to bring people into this neighborhood that you want living here. And if they're people that you know, and at the same time, you can ask them questions about, well, how long have you been in this neighborhood? And where do you see yourself in a few years? Like, are you planning on staying here? What do you like about this neighborhood? That's a huge one, because you can take that information back to your open house and say, I've spoken to many of the neighbors, and they say it's just such a quiet, beautiful place to live, or whatever the case is. So,
Also, I mean, you know, construction prices are so expensive right now. A
And
lot of people
unreliable.
might want a second bathroom or something, but they don't want to leave their neighborhood. You know, I know quite a few people who have like bought a house across the street from the house that they already
happens.
owned, just because they wanted something a little bit different, but they didn't want to change.
yeah, when it's not a cookie cutter neighborhood, when the houses are different, that's a definite thing. I mean, Clintonville would be a great example of that. because the
That's where I
house is
live, I
very,
know these people, I
Yeah.
lived across the street,
yeah.
I did,
Yeah.
and it was a great move, it was easy.
So this actually is using the social ad campaigns through the command system. And it is so easy to do. I don't do it myself because like I said, the social media aspect for me, I mean, I turned 60 this year and I'm like, no, I didn't learn that stuff and I'm not gonna really learn it. I do some Facebook dabbling, I post pictures, not gonna do this, but it really will work for the younger generation, younger than 50 or 60. But I just choose not to use it. But you definitely want to blast it on your Facebook and your Instagram. And if you have them together, you can have it so it blasts to both. Team, you guys have somebody, don't you, that does,
We do.
what's her name? Is she
Um,
the Canadian girl?
Jackie or Pamela?
Pamela is Pamela Smith.
Jackie's kind of,
She's remote, right?
she's in the office a couple days a week.
So you guys
There's
don't
some
use,
changes.
yeah, you guys don't use the Canadian girl.
No.
So I forgotten her name, but this Canadian woman, she was amazing. Like I don't know
How
how
did
she
you
did
know
it.
she was Canadian?
Because her area code was like Alberta or Saskatchewan. And I even asked her flat out, I said, are you in the States? Or are you in Canada? She goes, no, I'm in Canada. I'm like, oh, cool. So, but she was amazing. She was able to, she did all this for us and it was so easy and seamless. And that was one of the reasons I love being on a team. So one of my regrets. Benefits, definitely, perks. So, like I said, the rapport is the biggest thing. You got to greet everyone. You got to make eye contact because you don't know what they're there for. You really don't know the reason for being there, and you kind of want to establish that pretty quick because then you'll know whether to spend more time, less time, and then how much of the information do you need from them that's going to help you. Definitely have them sign in. And I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but you came in. Katie, hi Katie, I'm Kelly.
Hi.
So there's a packet with the sheets that I shared.
just grabbed all of them.
Excellent. So there's some in there that'll really help you with sign in and, putting a placard on the door that basically says, welcome, and then please sign in. It's going to be at the security of the listing, the seller's request. Signing in is huge. Got to get them to sign in. That's like the biggest thing. And if they don't sign in, you're going to like shoot yourself or you're going to kick yourself later for not getting people to sign in.
Should we still have, when people come in with an agent, with their agent, should we still
Yes.
have them sign that?
Absolutely, because if
Okay.
you're the listing agent yourself, you're going to want to know who that is. And then you can also assess, you can do your job as a listing agent to see what these buyers are like and what their agent is like. And you're going to want to know whether this is the right buyer for your seller.
Okay,
It's a good idea to have that rapport and get to know them. I'd always have them sign in. Most agents will immediately, or they'll just pop you their card. But I usually have them put the name of their, because I want to know. And I also want the person that I'm representing at that open house to know what, who are these people and how qualified were they? Because you're going to do a follow-up and that's a huge thing as well. If you want to continue doing this for the professionals that work here now, as a newer agent, you want to give them excellent feedback because they're looking for that. They want to know who came to this open house and who's going to potentially buy this house from their seller.
Just my thought about the signage that you were talking about. I know that I feel a lot more confident when I have some direction. When I feel uncomfortable when I walk into a house and I don't know, should I take my shoes off? Should I not? And so having that sign, if you as the host of this
Yeah.
is busy and then I can kind of take care of myself, that really like.
And this
makes me
helps
feel
too. I
uncomfortable.
mean, this helps right away on the door if you.
Yeah,
drive
but
it.
it's like, you can keep your shoes on and walk around, like that
Right.
would make me feel so much more empowered.
Yep, and this time of year, I'd say shoe covers or shoes off
Mm-hmm.
because it's just respectful. I mean, people can be really disrespectful at those open houses. And that's why I think that's probably one of the reasons they say, don't turn your back, because preparing the house for the open house is, it's a big part of it. There's a whole section on it here. I won't go into it, but most of it is just, if people are silly enough to leave a watch out or a ring or valuables, prescription drugs, anything that anybody can put in their pocket, I say, clear the house of any of that kind of stuff, make sure it's put away. even locked up, because people do open drawers, cabinets and kitchens. You can't be everywhere all the time if you're, you know.
I have a question about that, and I think it was one of the continuing education classes. They said that opening a drawer is illegal,
So,
like.
I mean,
against real
who's
estate.
gonna charge you with anything doing that unless, I mean,
Well, there could be cameras or something, but
And if
like,
there are
here's my question,
cameras,
is that, because obviously
they have to let,
in the kitchen, I'm
You have to
gonna
let 'em
wanna
know
open
there's a
the
camera, too.
cupboards and see what the space is. But going up into someone's dresser or something they're taking with you,
yeah,
The kitchen is.
it was with the
space that you're
ethics,
Purchasing.
yes.
The drawers in the dresser are not, you're not buying that dresser, so
Right.
they give them the right. opening that.
So I think it
Yeah.
was the ethics continuing education, and I just was interested because I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
I mean, not that I would have done that, but it was good to know.
Yeah, well, it is a good idea, what you're saying though about how those covers,
Yep.
walk through the house before the open house
Yeah,
starts.
that's
I've gone through-
preparing.
Or I've gone through houses ahead of time and, you know, the jewelry or back in the day when they had iPods.
Yeah.
I'm pulling drawers open,
Yeah.
but you have to remember to tell your sellers too, you know, the seller call me after a thousand time and say all their stuff is missing. And I said, well, by the way,
And-
get your drawer upstairs.
And I'm finding like more than 60, maybe 70% of the open houses that I've been holding, the sellers don't even live there any longer. You know, I'd say 50% of the time the house is empty, which is not a fun open house, but you can make it fun, you know. You hear a lot of echoes, but I'm going to continue going because there's a couple more things I definitely want you guys to get before noon. Qualifying leads, I'd say the probing questions are, there's a list of stuff that's in here, and there's also part in the toolkit, which will help you with asking some really, really specific questions that'll get them to answer. You never want to ask a yes or no question. Make sure they have to answer with a sentence that gives you information. And it's easy to do that once you've broken the ice with them. There's all kinds of things you can ask them. You know, how did you hear about this open house? Well, they can't say yes or no. You know, what brought you to this open house? What intrigued you in this listing about this particular house? Does it tick a lot of boxes for you? Are there any boxes unticked? Because then you might have another listing. And then they're going to be like, hey, this guy, he knows other houses. He can help me find a house. And then all of a sudden you're their buyer agent. So, I mean, there's questions that can lead them right into your pipeline, which is pretty awesome. And then the neighborhood snapshot is actually just straight through the KW command. You can take your iPad or you can actually print one out. And it literally is just, it shows you everything that's sold in that neighborhood, everything that's going on in that neighborhood. It'll show you, it can even do things like list reports, which shows you the schools that are there, all of that. And you can have collateral in the front. You can actually print out the RPD, the property disclosure for the house, and have people look through it. We're finding now that so many offers are happening so quickly that information is usually overlooked. I mean, if people are waiving inspections and doing appraisal concessions or gaps, or, you know, taking care of appraisal, they're not going to look at an RPD like a fine tooth comb like they used to. I've seen that, and I'm like, wait, stop, red flag to your buyer. You need to get them to look through the documents. You know, take the time. Don't be buying blind, because I don't want to be, you know, in the lawsuit with you. And then this is the capture the lead thing that they actually have. This is very similar to what I gave you, but it actually just says that you're currently working with a realtor. So a realtor, it'll actually give you a little less information, but and then that's the landing page that I mentioned that you can make through the command system. And it's really easy to do it, but I don't use it. You park on the street, you meet the neighbors if you can. You're never turn your back on a prospect, and that's going to be if you're alone and don't have any protection, other people present, don't have a can of mace. I mean, whatever you choose to keep as personal protection. There's way too many weird stories that have come out, and there's even a movie, but it was kind of more suspenseful and thriller. Open House. Did anybody ever see it? No? Oh, you should see it. It's a good movie. Have you seen it?
No.
Yeah, it's called Open House. It's really, really good. Establish an escape route, which basically is just which door are you going to be closest to at the time. I would say never go down to the basement with a single person. You know, if there are other people there, fine. You go down, that's fine. Also let your spouse, significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, know that you're doing an open house. And another really big thing is other agents in this office want to know about the open houses, and they're not always scanning the MLS page. And I don't know if you all know, but you can go straight to the open house page in MLS and look at what's happening all week, all open houses going on that are listed in the MLS. But we like to publish them on Friday. So if you can get them to the front desk before 10 or 11 in the morning, they'll publish your open house. And that way everybody in the office knows it's you holding it for yourself or for someone else, the time. And it may actually spawn them to say, hey, that's a house I didn't know about, we need to look at. So get it published and out there as much as you can. Charge your cell phone. Well, I always take my charger with me. So that's something I learned the hard way. One time my phone died, like 3/4 into the open house. So this is all part of that follow up and convert. And it's basically, it's kind of like a funnel in a sense. And then it goes all the way down to then taking a person that you've met and interacted and nurtured and qualified, and then set an appointment with them. And then they go active. And this is a perfect example of the 3 sales I had off of the August open house. It literally was all of these things 3 separate times. But it was easy because I didn't have to nurture or qualify the kids because they were already there telling me. This is really funny. I don't know if you guys ever seen You're the Man or.
Thank you for eating.
Uh-oh.
I'm the first one, huh? Yeah. I never understood why people are so afraid to eat at an open house. I know. No. Why's Ferrigno selling?
Oh, he bought a place in Jackson Hole.
Ah.
Yeah, I think he's tired of the Hollywood grind.
Right.
It's kind of.
I've always wanted a pad with a giant Lou Ferrigno statue, so I think I found it.
Lou Ferrigno.
You're wasting your time with that couple. Just FYI.
Why'd he say that?
I saw the guy pull in. He's driving a Saab 9.3, which I'm not a snob. It's a great car, but it costs $30,000. This house must be what, $4.2 million? It doesn't quite compute, right?
Well, I hope that's not the case. He told me he was going to make an offer.
I think he's trying to impress that girl he hasn't slept with yet.
How do you know that?
Well, it's body language, you know? Like, that guy needs to fart. It's pretty clear, but he doesn't know her well enough to do it in front of her, so I assume they haven't slept together.
He does seem to be clenching.
Yeah, he doesn't want to fart. Watch, when he gets enough space, he can let one rip, I guarantee it. Oh, that's a good move. Hey, go check out the kitchen, honey. I'll meet you in there. Now watch. He's making his move slowly, slowly but surely. Watch the leg. Wait for it. Wait for it. Fart. Boom. That's a fart, motherfucker.
God.
That's a fucking fart.
Oh my God.
Look at him crop dusting across your open house. It's a disgrace.
He farted in my open house.
He sure did.
You know what, guy? I like it, but I'm thinking it might be a little bit small.
Totally, and it smells like fart.
Let's take off it.
Roll down the windows in that car, sweetheart.
You called that. That was like a play-by-play. It's amazing. You called that.
Yeah, well, I know my farts.
Unbelievable. Thank you for eating.
I'm the first one, huh?
Yeah.
I never understood why.
All right, so I thought that was just the funny. If you've never seen the movie, it's hilarious. It's a little gross, but I thought it was funny. Anyway, so hosting a speaker, which is really interesting because we just had these guys walking in. How you guys doing?
Well,
Welcome. I'm good. Good. Hosting a speaker would be like actually asking somebody from a mortgage company or a title company or home warranty company, maybe even a remodeler, to actually show up at an open house with you. And it's really a great idea because it also disarms the people coming in, and it adds value to what they're actually experiencing at the open house. Offering a gift, never do it. I don't myself. A gift is really you telling them how wonderful this house is and how well you'll represent them if they become your buyer or list with you. We talked about getting the house in showing shape. That's a massive thing to make sure that when you walk in, it's a house that you would want to buy yourself or for somebody in your family. And that's just removing clutter, checking the outside is the first thing, because first impression is before you get in the front door. And once you walk in that front door, any strange odors, everyone talks about the 1990s and 2000s when, you bake chocolate chip cookies before the open house or have them do cookies. I mean, you can just buy cookies and heat them up. You don't have to go through the whole process. But that's an option, or just making sure it doesn't smell stale or empty. I mean, you can get an empty feel when you go into a house and it's kind of like, oh, I don't envision me, my family, my furniture, anything in here. And then the go live part is you can go live early by social media and getting interaction on social media ahead of time, so that way you're really getting the most out of it that you can. We had talked about welcoming the visitors, getting the house in showing shape, and then also the safety aspect of it, which there is part of a safety toolkit handout that you can actually download. I believe it's not included in your paperwork, but if it is, I would just pay attention to the tips. No valuables, messy meals. I'm an insulin dependent diabetic, so for me, I always have some food or some snack there. But I always keep it in a drawer, and I always have my backpack with me with all the other stuff like extra pens, anything else that I think I might need, the thank you notes that I take to write while I'm there. And then the assumptions part was kind of how that video filled in just now. Don't make assumptions about people, even though that guy knew how to read this other guy as just being a loafer and tire kicker, as they call it. He was not interested in the house. He was there to impress his girlfriend. This woman he wanted to sleep with, and he was gross to start with. So best practices for things to have in your kind of emergency or success kit. I don't take toilet paper with me to an open house. I don't always have it. Disinfecting wipes, but I do check ahead of time to make sure there is, because you never know when you have a kid or something that'll happen. Paper towels, pens, air freshener, like I said before. I always have extra business cards, and I actually I don't think I brought one with me, but I buy these little magnet calendars for each year, and I always take those and spread them out, and it's amazing how many people have called me off of my calendar. It's a really wonderful, that's the gift really, I guess, but I find it to just be more like my business card, but people like them. Measuring tape's a great idea. If you don't have a measuring tape in your car as a realtor, you don't have a good toolkit with you. You really have to have a measuring tape. Brian had me measure a couch. Oh, she's already gone, but Brian Kemp had me measure a couch at a showing I had the other day because he had a place for that couch. It was his own listing, and it worked out very well. Trash bags, I don't carry. Tissues, no. So follow-up part. Oh, there's another funny video about, do you guys ever see this one from Saturday Night Live? You've seen it? Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's actually a Zillow. And then the last part of the follow-up, this is actually something you definitely want to look through, but it's very similar to the other funnel that you saw earlier. But it basically is just prospecting, marketing, leads, contacts, cultivate, and then your appointment, going active, getting it under contract and closing. And that's really not just the buyer side. That's when you want to capture listings from the neighbors or from the actual buyer you get, you may need to list. So that's the other side of it. You could get it on both sides there. And then creating your own success list is really big. I would say the first few that you do, you'll find the things that you messed up on, and then you will you'll take care of those issues on your own, and then you can plan it the next time so that if you get 7 to 10 days, you can really knock it out of the park and spend the time on getting it right, because the fewer leads you get out of it will be basically the success of your open house. You've got to get as many leads as possible, as many names, as much information. Does anybody else have any other comments? Because I know we've talked throughout, but did anybody want to add anything, Bill?
If you're holding for other people, this is kind of important too. A lot of agents like you to leave a note or a card or something for your sellers there. So when they come home, they know how many people were there to visit. It's a courtesy, and people like to know right away when they walk in the door what the result was.
And I actually gave you an example in the packet. It came from actually San Diego and I've used it many times, but there's actually there's like 7 or 8 questions that you can answer. And you can say even things like what the weather was like, what the attendance was like, comments on the house, were there improvements? Did you guys get a chance to see that in there? It's the one I think it says like KW Realty at the top. There it is. Yeah, it's this sheet right here. That you can leave for them. That's why I've included it. So you don't have any copies of it and leave it. And that's definitely for another agent. You can actually fill it out for yourself because with all that's going on in your head, if you're that busy, you're not going to remember those details and a day later. So I'd say fill it out immediately after or right at the end of the open house, right before it's over. And if you guys, I have my cards up here. So any of the newer agents that don't have my contact information, and you all have access to all of our phone numbers. I didn't know if you know it, but you can go into our KW page and there's I think the list is updated in there available. Rachel, no?
You can go to mykw.kw.com and then go to white pages.
White pages, yeah.
We just were saying we thought white pages didn't exist anymore.
That's because I'm so old school, but my cards are up here and thank you, everyone. I hope you got something out of it.
Great.
And if you want anything in more detail with my email or cell phone, just give me a call or email me and I'll be happy to, follow up or get you other collateral that could help you with your open houses. And like I said, I probably have 30 signs.
Wow.
So, not just the open house that goes into the ground, like those are the really more flimsy, but I have the riders for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I have them for 2-hour increments. And most of the Thursdays and Fridays are like 4 to 6, 5 to 7. And then the Saturday and Sundays I have are starting at 11 and they go up to like 4. And some of them are 2-hour and some of them are 3-hour. And I have several of each of those. So if you need to borrow, I'm open to lending as long as I get it back.
What part of town are you in?
I live in Berwick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So does anybody know where Berwick is? Yeah, a couple people. It's like the poor Bexley. Lots of ranches, lots of first floor masters. There's a reason I live there.
Yeah.
Oh, and great yards.
Oh yeah, great yards. Yeah, kind of a transition area. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but thank you guys all. I hope you really got a lot out of it.
Thank
Thanks for being my guinea pigs for my first presentation. Thanks, I appreciate it.
All right. Sorry, I'm on a call and multitasking. Yeah. So we are